when it comes to this story, this is something that may have surprised some folks. Obviously, it surprised Disney. Even Yahoo Finance today was talking about how this caught Disney off guard, caught Disney by surprise that Nelson Peltz was coming back in, which I found a little humorous from that perspective because, well, I mean, how bad do you have to screw up before the guy that was challenging you a year ago for this very same thing comes back in as you've continued to fail at every single metric that has been presented to you in the same time frame? But from the article, Lauren Thomas and Robbie Whelan from the Wall Street Journal, Nelson Peltz is planning a fresh push for board seats at Disney. Board seats, plural. We don't know how many. Might be 2, might be 5, might be 10. I'll put it this way. I think, Jonas, correct me if I'm wrong, if they slight Nelson Peltz on this deal, he might go from saying, I want a board seat to, I'm going to put up a whole slate of an entirely new board. And Nelson Peltz has the prowess, the power, and the capital, most importantly, to do it.
The experience and the connections across multiple companies. Okay, so on the entertainment side, there's nobody on that board except for Bob Iger that has entertainment experience. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
Last year. That was so ridiculous.
And that is by design, of course, because everyone has to go, I don't know, Bob, what do you think? And then he gets to say whatever he wants. Okay. These people are from Procter & Gamble. These people are supposed to be titans of industry that are supposed to come in and guide the company. The best thing that probably happened to Bob Iger as far as that board of directors was when Steve Jobs was on it, because I don't see Steve Jobs just going, yeah, sure, do your thing. Even if it's stupid, do your thing.
He was really vocal, Jonas. I think one time he had told, I think it was Iger, he said he'd taken his kids to Disney, and I guess he looked at either Art of Animation or Pop Century, and Bob Iger was like, isn't it great? And Steve Jobs was like, that hotel sucks. I mean, he just flat out told him that it's freaking awful, But so, just to sorry, Jonas, before I forget, there was actually a shareholder proposition. I don't know if it was 2 years ago or what, but they wanted to create a seat on the board occupied by a line employee at the Disney parks, because they wanted to have someone who was in the trenches who could give the board a better idea of what was going on the ground. And they vetoed that.
I could see why they would on some level, but that is the problem, of course, with this board, is that they are so disconnected with the idea of someone just walking into that park. You have to have a degree in Disney, and this is, I don't want to get too far off the topic here because we have a lot of theme park experts here. To go into a Disney park, if you are paying money to go there, you need a degree in what is going on in order to enjoy your stay at the Walt Disney Company. They kind of acknowledge this, but they still haven't fixed it. Genie Plus is at the highest price that it has ever been, and it broke for an extended period of time.
Yeah. 15 hours or something.
That is an IT embarrassment that should not happen when they want to play around like they're a technology company. I don't know that there's many technology people on that board. Again, Iger might have the most technology experience on the board, because
I think one is Oracle. One had some time at Oracle.
That makes sense. But Peltz has had an entire year to work this out. Maybe he just decided the other day, whatever, I've had enough. But he's had a long time to think about who he would put in those positions. If he doesn't have an entire slate to put forward, he ought to.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, the current Disney board can argue they've done such a fantastic job. I mean, they could have dropped 80%. They only dropped 61%, guys. They're just knocking it out of the park.
I mean, that CNBC article is going to be an SEC filing soon, because there is no way that does not get sent to every single investor to say, these are the people who are managing your money. The people who are worried about whether or not Bob Chapek pet a hippo at the right time are managing this company.
The worst thing is, they weren't mad that he pet the hippo. They were mad that they didn't get to also. Darn it.
The hippo.
That's it. This is all about jealousy and bullcrap. I mean, that's the problem with this. And I mean, Iger has this ego that he cannot get over. And now Nelson Peltz is stepping in to give him a check. That's what he really does not like. And you can see that from the scope of the article here. When they talk about, let me scroll back in here. The activist investors Trian Fund Management talking about Nelson Peltz, now one of Disney's largest investors. I think by the calculations, the 5th or 6th largest investor in Disney stock now from the institutional scale, with a stake valued upward of $2.5 billion. Expected to request multiple seats, including one for Peltz, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, if we go back and we look at last year, the other seat, I think, would be Peltz's son, because that was brought up in the disclosure last year. So that's at least one other. It doesn't say how many. It just says multiple, right? So this could be any number of seats. And Peltz now has the power to really screw Disney up. Really screw Disney up. And I'm not so sure.
Oh, and by that you mean improve them, which is screwing them up in their mindset.
Exactly. If the company says no, Trian could nominate directors that would be voted on at Disney's annual meeting next spring. Everybody remembers we covered this live last year, the fireworks that happened at the annual stockholders meeting. Like, people think about the quarterly stockholders reports or the quarterly stock reports. That's one thing. The annual stockholder meetings that are broadcast for Disney, that is where Joe Average gets to call in, right? That is where really things get. I mean, look, God, that got so crazy last year. It was bonkers. I can't wait for this year's annual stockholder meeting. That will be something to behold. And this is the kind of thing that Nelson Peltz is going after. If the company
just to be
says
clear, if anybody has not seen that, there's a great breakdown on Valiant's channel of all of them basically ripping Bob Iger a new one.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
yeah.
couple of pixie dusters like, Bob Iger, can I kiss your ring? You know, yeah, a couple of those. But for the most part, it's just I'm so
but the balance, the fact that it was like majority, like the fire was on, that tells you where you're at. Like, if it's not majority people pixie dust sniffing your own farts, that's how these meetings normally go. It is horribly atypical for them to be of that nature and tone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The window of shareholder nominations runs from December 5th through Jan 4th, according to Disney's Proxy materials. Peltz launched a run for a seat on Disney's board earlier this year after the company privately rebuffed his request to become a director. It was a short-lived battle, however, with Peltz withdrawing his nomination in February after Disney unveiled a broad reorganization and cost-cutting plan that sent the stock up briefly. That was the problem, right? He came in, he did his thing, and then, well, the Disney stock reacted positively for a bit.
Well,
and then
they acquiesced to everything he wanted except for China.
Well, that was it. And it was like, okay, how do we get, from point A to point B? Point B never happened. But Peltz was satiated enough to where he decided to back off and just give folks the benefit of the doubt, and say, okay, Disney said they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And none of it really came to fruition in the terms of what Peltz wanted. That's where we are now. So Peltz is coming back, and he is going to just jam this down Disney's throat. That's the zeitgeist of this. That's the problem. For Disney, at least in this case. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.